to help strengthen national security. And like I mentioned, we are adding another layer, which is the Central Equipment Identity Register, so that the phones themselves can be identified. And when the SIM register is linked to the Central Equipment Identity Register, it would help us also block stolen phones, so that we will disincentivize people who steal phones. We are looking forward to the day, maybe sounding, I'm feeling like Martin Luther right now, that I can see on the mountaintop, the day that somebody's phone, your iPhone 18, will fall down and say, bro, will phone at all. Because there is no use taking it away from the person. Next slide, please. Yeah. So, as the minister eloquently mentioned, pre-2010, there was no SIM registration. The mandatory SIM registration, the MNOs themselves, began to build their KYC database by registering people. And the people voluntarily registered so that should you lose your SIM, you can get your number back. Because prior, if you don't register voluntarily, then should you lose your phone or your SIM, then you couldn't prove that you were the owner of that number. So, but that happened, it didn't cover everybody. So in 2010, the NCA commenced a process to register, so it became a national exercise. But multiple IDs were deployed in that process. Driver's licenses, passports, and quite a number of IDs were involved at the time. When we began in 2010, there was no verification of the IDs. Along the way, as we began to observe certain fraudulent behavior, we began verification. But even that, it was manual. We put together some contractors that would place phone calls to passport office, to DVLA, and try to verify. So that was a flawed, system in terms of the verification of the identity of the people. So, National Identification Authority, next slide. National Identification Authority was established thereafter, and the decision was made to ensure that only the national ID would be used to register the SIMs. I think the NIA itself passed some regulations in 2012 to undergird or to mandate that requirement. The process eventually commenced in 2021. Ghana Card became the mandatory identification document for registration. However, there were some challenges with that also. There was supposed to be verification of the IDs at 2 levels. One was to confirm from the NIA if the ID number was correct and if it matched with the name and the date of birth. That process was carried out. But the second phase of verification, which was the biometrics, that was to answer, the first one was answering the question, is the ID, number matching with the other details? We selected details, which was name and date of birth. But the second question is, the person presenting the card, is he or she the true owner of the card? That was the benefit, that was the objective of the second phase, which was the biometric verification. So even though biometric data was taken, photographs were taken, when that process started, there was no liveliness check, meaning that you could take somebody's photo and use it, later on, liveliness check was introduced, but then quite a number of registrations had already been carried out. Then there was also the the fingerprint. Now, the fingerprints were captured, but were never checked against the NIA database. So both the facial and the fingerprint were not verified against the NIA database. Okay. There was also the announcement that we will enforce a maximum limit for the number of SIMs an individual can own if you are not a company, but that was not enforced. If a customer updated their details, typically maybe they could, we didn't have a mechanism to ensure that the database was updated. Either if the person updated at NIA or updated with the MNO, there wasn't a synchronized arrangement for that data to be put in place. And then foreigners who registered, who obtained SIMs in Ghana were not supposed to have the SIMs valid perpetually, because they were deemed to be visitors into the country. So beyond a certain period, it was supposed to expire. There was a 90-day period that was also not enforced. So government has taken a decision, as the minister announced, to update, number one, the legal framework. So the last time we had a legal framework governing SIM or number registration was 2011. 2011, when we commenced the 2010 process, and then I recall the decision was made that we announced the date where if a SIM is not registered, it will be deactivated. Civil society began to agitate what was the basis for the NCA making that announcement. So we took steps to promulgate the SIM registration regulations of 2011. But since then, a lot has happened to the industry, and we need to bring the regulations up to date, not only for a telephony environment, but for a completely digital ecosystem. So that is one decision. Government also intends to strengthen the biometric verification, which was not carried out in the last process. Also to strengthen device control, which is why we are introducing the Central Equipment Identity Register. And one of my marching orders is that whatever we do, we must make sure that the consumer is not inconvenienced. So government intends to enhance convenience in number registration. Yeah. So to test, whatever our hypothesis was, whether is there a problem with the existing database or not, we collaborated with NIA, and this is just to affirm, what the minister said, that this unprecedented collaboration between the two institutions. We didn't even have to sign a contract on this one. We had a meeting and agreed to test, to test what it is that we intended to do. So in June last year, we took a sample of the about 2 million registrations and tested it against the NIA database, the IDs. Next slide. The IDs. And we found that some SIM records could not be verified against the NIA. I'll give you some specifics very soon. Some registrations contained incorrect identity information. Some biometric records could not be confirmed, and I would see that as for the fingerprint, it was 0%. There was no match. And then there were some data inconsistencies observed between systems. Next slide. So when it came to the facial match, out of the 2.3 million registrations that we attempted to validate, 81.1% matched. But remember, in the event, there was no liveliness check. Then you still couldn't tell that the one who presented it was indeed the person. So about some 18.9% of what and remember, we have some almost 40 million numbers registered. So this is a very small sample that we tested. And so about 81% had a facial match. But next slide, when it came to the fingerprint, it was 0. Fundamentally, the NIA fingerprints were taken with contact, whereas what we did with the SIM, with the mobile registration the last time, was contactless. And, fundamentally, it would create a challenge as far as matching the two fingerprints are concerned. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is just an example we want to show you. There are 2 ID cards. The names are the same. The card pin is the same. Okay? The date of birth is the same. And these were the things that we're checking in the first phase. That's the stage 1 verification. We will send the card number and then they will return to us the name and database. These are 2 different cards. The photographs are different. But the first phase will match. The first phase will match because the name is the same, the pin is the same, the date of birth is the same. But the photographs are different. Their heights are different. And other, even the dates on the cards are different. So this is a typical, there are several things that for data protection reasons, we don't want, because we don't know which of them is the, yeah, so next slide. So we only want to show you many examples of some of these things. So improvements are necessary on the existing database that we have, because some mobile numbers remain linked to incorrect identities. We even had cases where, people used other people's ID. That is why the NCA brought a short code for you to check, because that was happening, for you to check which numbers are linked to your ID. Weak verification can enable fraud and criminal activity. So we have to cure that. Stronger controls are required to protect consumers, and a reliable subscriber database is critical for national security. And the minister may let you know the request that he gets from national security on some of these things. Things happen, and we need to support law enforcement. And sometimes you see that you are unable, the person that has been arrested has no idea about what has happened. It means that somebody has used their identity to register a number to commit fraud. Next slide. So government is proposing to do the following, and I've hinted at these already. Number 1, let's update the legislative framework. So that work is currently ongoing to strengthen the verification by ensuring the biometric verification is carried out, so that we know the person presenting the card for registration is indeed the true holder of the card. Also, so that is why we are working closely with NIA and also introducing the CEIR to provide a mechanism for blocking illegal or stolen devices. The NCA types approves the devices. So devices that have not been type approved, we would like to enforce it, because some of the quality of service complaints, some of them, I'm not saying all, some of them are also a function of substandard devices. And we would like to enforce, compliance to. There are even some of the phones that have duplicate IMEIs. And we'll want to rectify some of those things using the CIR. And like I mentioned, our marching orders is that whatever we do, government requires that we make sure we do not inconvenience the consumer or users of mobile services. Yeah. Now, the LI, like Minister mentioned, the work started last year, and we've had a series of consultations. Even in January, we extended the deadline for comments, and we received quite a number of comments. Last Friday, we met stakeholders who had provided comments, went through, all the changes that we have made to the original draft. And yesterday, we sent out the updated draft, and we've given them another 7 calendar days to send us feedback, whether we have incorporated all the things that came up in the stakeholder engagement. But in the new LI, you would find eventually when it is passed, you will find that now in the old one, verification was not a requirement of law. In this new regulation, there's real-time verification is a requirement. real-time verification is a requirement of the law. Subscribers will be able to register the SIMs through secure digital platforms supported by multi-factor authentication. So the law is providing for a platform to enable people to register from anywhere, considering that the verification is mandatory. So people with smartphones, because people ask the question, those of us who are abroad, because I think I was on one TV station and the host was sent a question. I'm outside the country. When they start, it wouldn't matter. As far as you have the right identification and are able to verify yourself, you will be able to register wherever you are. Also, it is providing a legal basis for the central national SIM database so that we would have the identification and the numbers, because, you know, in the past, not in the recent past, in the past, every MNO held their data in silos. In the last registration, the central SIM register was created, but we've already told you some of the challenges, you know, that existed with that. And that one was also, the underlying legal framework for that was an EI, an executive instrument that was promulgated to address COVID emergency situation, which situation no longer exists, and for which reason we need to provide a stable legislation to cover it. Yeah. Biometric and fraud prevention controls have been included in the new LI. Clear ownership and transfer rules. So if you own a number and you have to give it to somebody for any reason, the law is making provisions for you to be able to do so the right way, so that a new person can now have true ownership of the number and be responsible for it. Also for minors, okay, if a teenager registers, because now they give IDs to 15-year-olds. Yeah, so we have clear provisions for that. Also for the businesses, one of the challenges with the old database or the existing database is that the companies are not well categorized. So it's difficult to tell that this number is a corporate number. I mean, as far as the database is concerned. And that is why we want to cure that also. And there are clear processes also involving the Office of the Registrar of Companies. There are provisions for tourists and foreign residents. Next slide. Yeah. So in the new regulations, the following are provided for in terms of, so if you are a Ghanaian citizen, whether you are in Ghana or abroad, as far as you hold Ghanaian citizenship, you are required to register with a national ID. That is the only acceptable registration for a Ghanaian citizen. If you are a foreigner but resident in Ghana, the only acceptable registration document is the non-citizen Ghana card. You need to get the non-citizen Ghana card to be able to register your number. If you are a refugee, you should get a non-citizen Ghana card, which the NIA provides for. And I think you even have a discounted rate for the refugees. Yeah. If you are a foreign visitor visiting the country, the regulations is providing that you can use your passport to register. However, after 90 days, that number would no longer be valid. After 90 days. The networks are required by the regulation to deactivate that number. So if you register for with a passport, it will work only for a limited period of time. And then we have diplomats who live in the country on account of the jobs they have. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has responsibility to identify them for the purpose of number registration. Yeah. Now, the issue of convenience. So I've already hinted at it. So the new process will provide for the platform that the law provides for. Now gives us the mandate to allow self-service registration. This will be built into it from day one. Self-service registration. So that you don't have to, and we believe a significant number of phone users can do this themselves. And we are going to make sure that the existing platform only supported the Android platform. But, what we are going to do is going to support both, Android and iOS for a wider coverage for users. Assisted registration. So provision will still be made for people who either don't have smartphones or can't help themselves for whatever reason. So working with the industry, there will be designated customer service centers. Also, we'll be working, there'll be mobile teams that would go out and also assist. We intend to require, so there will be that requirement for an appointment booking, so that those who would go to customer service points to get assistance with their registration can have an orderly, an arrangement. It will be good just both for the service provider and for the consumer. I don't know whether we'll respect Ghana Man time on that one. But the intention is to make it convenient so that especially for people, and hopefully there will also be support. Hopefully, I'm saying hopefully because we haven't had a detailed engagement. But as we are in a 24-hour economy, hopefully there will be convenience also provided by off-peak hours registration, hopefully. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, so mobile registration things I mentioned, and especially for the rural communities, these arrangements will be put in place to ensure that they also get support. So ultimately, the objective of the process we are seeking to carry out now, which has begun with the revision of the LI, is to ensure that we have a more convenient, efficient, and inclusive SIM registration exercise for all subscribers. Now, let me talk briefly about the Central Equipment Identity Register. So this one also in the executive instrument that was promulgated in COVID, was it 2020? Yeah, it was 2020, yeah. Also made mention of the Central Equipment Identity Register. What it is that every network has what we call an Equipment Identity Register, EIR. So the network knows every device that connects to it. But what we don't have is a centralized database. So assuming you are on one network A and you report that your phone has been stolen, and say right now there are no protocols even for you to establish that. But if you did and they block the device, you can move to the next network and it will work. You see how some of our brothers bring us locked phones from somewhere. We are online. I shouldn't wash our... And then you bring it here, then you do some things. Then, okay, there is actually an international CIR. That the intention is not to connect to that yet, because we understand. But the intention is to create a national database where all the EIRs of the respective MNOs would be sharing data, so that there's a central database. The devices there would be color coded. If it is green, it means there's no issue. If it is yellow, it means that, there's an issue, but you have a grace period to fix it. And then if it is red, it means that that device has been blocked and cannot be used, to connect to any network. So we have also had some consultations with industry on this. And the objective is to have a system that allows stolen or illegal mobile phones to be blocked from all networks. And the intent is that once this persists, then there will be no incentive to take somebody's phone. Because if they report it following the protocols that we will outline, and the device is blocked, you wouldn't phone it wafa, but it will not be useful unless you export it. Unless you export the phone somewhere else. So that is the objective of the CEIR. Like I mentioned, the other layer is also technical. I wouldn't bore you with that. But we think that if we check the technical aspects also, whether it's been type approved, etc., it will enhance some of our consumer experience. Next slide, please. Yeah. So, like I mentioned, it will help block stolen mobile phones, discourage phone theft, prevent illegal devices from using the networks, and it will improve overall the security of the telecom ecosystem. Okay. Yeah. Now, there are a lot of institutions working together, and the key why we are confident this time we will get it right is the spirit of collaboration between all the key agencies. On Friday, we had all the key agencies here reviewing the enabling legislation for this. So the Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations is the policy lead on this one. That is why the announcements are coming from the Honorable Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations. The NCA is providing regulatory oversight, enforcement, consumer education, and protection. The National Identification Authority is responsible for the ID verification. We have other agencies. The mobile network operators are key stakeholders in this, and they are the actual implementers of the SIM registration. They will be registering the numbers, and they will have an obligation to do so for numbers that will be active on their network. And they also have responsibility for customer education to inform their clients as to what they have to do to register. And then the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has responsibility for the diplomatic community. And then the Ghana Immigration Service, we are also working with them. They were here on Friday. And then the Office of Registrar of Companies, also for verifying the registrations of the. So if your registration is not valid, we won't accept it for the purpose of registering numbers. And for corporations too, the law is providing, the mechanism for them to register numbers. What will consumers be required to do? Now, I've carved this question this way because we haven't started. But when we do start, consumers will be required to ensure that their SIMs are registered with the Ghana card. Or if you are not living in Ghana, you are a visitor or whatever with the appropriate legal document. Once the CIR, is linked to the SIM register, we will also require that when consumers, if you lose your phone, report it so that we will block the phone and gradually build that confidence that it is not helpful to steal a phone. And we would require that the Ghanaians do not give you don't register a SIM for somebody, because one of the things that we will introduce in this mechanism, in this process, is what we call your primary number. So everybody, when you register your number, if it's only one number, it will be your primary number. Anytime that ID, if you have multiple numbers, you will be given the option to choose which of your numbers is your primary number. Anytime your ID is being used to register any other number, an OTP will be sent to your primary number for you to confirm. So what it means is that if a number is found, maybe for the purpose of fraud, for example, and we identify the ID used for that registration, and you come and say that it wasn't me. There's a song like that. It wasn't me. I mean, you gave consent, because by the time that number was being registered, you were asked to confirm. So once you have confirmed, you can't deny the registration. So don't do it for, like I said, there is even provision for you to transfer your number to somebody. So just follow the process. And we would like that when we get there, we'll hammer this. But even today, don't register SIMs for someone else. And protect your personal identity. But you don't know, it can bring you a lot of troubles. You may be visiting places that you never dreamt you will visit because you have questions to answer. So I beseech all consumers by the message of God, protect your personal identity. Ultimately, what we are seeking to do is intended to create a safer environment for mobile money transactions. The fraud levels are high, and we need to work together to curb it. We want to build increased trust in digital services. We want stronger protection against telecom fraud, and we want to improve integrity in the national telecom ecosystem. And that is why government intends to do what we intend to do. Our key message will be saying, the government of the Republic of Ghana is strengthening SIM registration and introducing device control systems to ensure that every number and every mobile device on our networks can be verified and traced when necessary. Talking about tracing, we also have what we call SIM box fraud, where people bypass the legally licensed international gateways to bring in traffic through grey routes. We block those numbers today, but beyond that, we also try to identify the SIM boxes because that is loss of revenue to the states and less of revenue also to the networks. So, I mean, this is happening, the impact is at multiple levels, and that is why we are doing this. Now, the legal and technical processes will be completed before the new process will commence, because somebody will say, so when is this starting? We are going through a legal amendment process. It's quite advanced. There's a draft that has been out, that is out there, that is being reviewed. Afterwards, it will be shipped to the ministry. Attorney General gets involved, or they don't get involved in this one. They get involved, yeah. And then it will be laid in Parliament by the Honorable Minister. And then it will only become law after 21 days. So that process must, because to cover all the things that we intend to do, the law must first be passed. So we are not starting until the legal framework is in place. Number two, underlying all this is also a lot of technical work, which is also ongoing to ensure that we have very seamless registration process devoid of hiccups and hitches that will annoy people. Remember, I have marching orders to ensure it is convenient for everybody who uses the system. Extensive stakeholder consultations will happen at every phase. So even at the legislative phase, you see that we started last year. We are still on it because we keep going through several iterations, and we want to ensure that the consultations are thorough. And we aim to give convenience. I can't say that enough. National ID registration itself has been made more accessible and convenient. And the Executive Secretary is here. When we were doing the last registration, when we were disconnecting those who hadn't registered, NIA only had 7 offices, including their head office, nationwide. As we speak, they have 294 offices, meaning that all the districts are covered. So every corner, you go get ID card, to a space to register your ID card. You know, so. So it removes one big bottleneck for the registration. And the reason why and they themselves have also introduced, a lot of convenience. So there is you've launched your Prestige, VIP services. So that those of you who open Passion, there are places that you can go to get your card registered quickly. You can also choose Standard. and go to the other places and get it done for you. Whichever mechanism you choose. And then the mobile teams that would go, NIA has committed that they will embed their teams along with the MNO mobile teams, so that wherever they will set up camp, if you come there and you don't have your national ID, you can register, get an ID, and then register your number as well. Yeah, I want to thank you very much. And then we will invite the Honorable Minister to take the hard part.
Thank you very much, DG. So my marching order now is to invite your questions. The Honorable Minister would indulge us as far as he is willing. When he tells me, yeah, it's time to stop, then I'll stop. So question time, please. Yes, sir. The microphone will go round.
Thank you very much. My name is Sammy Dona. I work with Tech Focus 24. My first intervention will be a comment. I'm very happy about the OTP thing that will be sent to the primary number, because I remember I wrote an article when this issue started. I was asking myself, why is it not possible that if somebody's card is being used to register a number, an OTP is not sent to the person for the person to know? So I'm very, very happy.
Abba and Papa Abba.
Thank you. I'm super, super, super happy about that. Thank you very much. So my question is, would there be the need for any third party entity to play a role, like the ACCRA GVG kind of intervention that we had in the first one? If so, why? Why would that be necessary? Thank you. My second question has to do with cost. Definitely, SIM registration comes with some cost implications. The minister has said many times that it's not going to cost us, the consumers, anything. So how much is it going to cost, and who is going to bear that cost? And then what happens to the existing central SIM register that we said we are not able to verify that against the NIA database? Where is it, and what happens to it?
Sorry, take that.
The SIM register, the National Central SIM Register that exists now, that we said we cannot verify it against the NIA database. Where is it now, and what happens to it? Thank you very much.
Sir, would you answer, or I should take more questions?
Let's take one more set.
One more set of questions.
Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Dixon Wolanyo Duche from the Daily Graphic. Now, my question has to do with the nerves of people. During the presentation, it was stated obviously that it will be very convenient, you can do it. And the minister himself has said it on multiple platforms that it's not going to be like before, where people had to fight and leave. But then, Honorable Minister, if I'm being honest, people are not buying it. People still have PTSD from that time. Honestly, we all saw the videos of this little woman who told the then minister to chew the cement, all that. And I had an interesting conversation with an equally older gentleman who was mad at you, by the way. He said, for what again? And why? What again? So even though you've said many times that it will be convenient, I feel there might be more to convince people that. And then secondly, I want to ask about eSIMs. I didn't hear anything like that. I don't know if it's going to affect it differently, or, you know, the traditional, it goes the same as the traditional SIM or something like that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me take this so that we don't. On the OTPs, Sammy, like I said, joking, the Aban Papa Abba. Look, President Mahama's reset is not on paper. It's actual. Okay. Those of you who were, most of you in the room here today were in the media space in 2021. You never had an engagement even with the NCA, not to talk of the ministry. And so this lets you understand where we've come from and where we are today. To get cabinet to approve this, and I chair the subcommittee on infrastructure at Cabinet. And so I couldn't chair my own memo. It was a referral to the Joint Committee on Local Governance and Infrastructure. And so the Honorable Ahmed, who's the Minister for Local Government, chaired that meeting. At a point in time, I felt as though I wasn't a part of the cabinet. That's how much scrutiny I was put under. My subcommittee told me they wouldn't approve it. They wanted further and better particulars. And then they stretched out their own hands and invited industry players to a cabinet subcommittee meeting. And then I was asked to come back with the NIA and the NCA to do another presentation to them. That's the amount of scrutiny this went through. And even when it came to the main cabinet, with the president sitting in there, the concern had been comfort, and convenience. And so I can assure you of, I understand, and this deals with Dixon's question about PTSD as well, that, I mean, if you come from an abusive marriage and you finally find yourself out of it and you meet a new man, no matter how loving he is, the day he says, you think he's about to do something to you. So coming from where we've come from, and I've said this to the team at the NCA, this registration is 75% communication, 25% technology. Like 75% of our work will be communication. I've seen people say, and let me just say that people have said, oh, but Sam George formed Stubborn Academy and said they wouldn't register. And now Sam says we should do a registration. Sam is not sticking to his word. Unfortunately, that's not what it is. I'm actually sticking to my word. Go back and take the press conferences I did as deputy ranking member and the media engagements I had. The critical thing I complained about, for which reason I said the registration in 2021 to 2023 should not have happened, was the lack of biometric verification. The lack of things that we are doing today, the use of OTPs, ensuring that SIMs for foreigners are churned after 90 days. So basically what I'm doing today is walking the talk that we spoke in opposition. So we're looking to fix all of those problems, and I believe strongly in my heart that this is going to be the very final SIM registration exercise that we are doing. And mind you, I keep saying, this is not a SIM re-registration. It is a SIM registration. A re-registration means you're re-registering something that already exists. You're building on something that already exists. That's not what we're doing. The systems are completely different. And so, is there a third-party role to be played? Yes. There's going to be a service provider for the NCA and the NIA. That's going to work with the MNOs to build the platform. However, the platform is going to be owned by the NCA. So the data that's going to be generated throughout this registration belongs to the NCA and the state. They are going to be custodians of it. The service provider is only going to provide the technical platform that's going to be used to carry out the self-registration and all the registrations that we've spoken about. What's the cost to this? At the moment, the specific cost for a registration of a SIM card has not been finalized. The ministry has an idea what the pricing should be because we're working with NIA, we're working with a number of institutions. But as part of our stakeholder approach, the MNOs have raised issues relative to the cost model that we have proposed. And so there are engagements happening between the regulator and the stakeholders who are the MNOs. Because like I said, whatever cost is going to be borne by the MNOs, they will bear a large chunk of it. The NCA will carry some of the cost relative to public sensitization. Those things come at cost. If the NCA is supposed to run a campaign on public sensitization to register, there is a cost to it. So that is going to be borne by the NCA. But when it comes to the cost of registering the SIM, doing the real-time verifications with the NIA and all of that, that will be borne by the MNOs. We would agree on a final amount or number, and I don't want to put out any numbers now, but we have an idea what the numbers are, but that will be agreed on in consultation with the MNOs, and then we'll roll it out. The existing SIM register, DG, anyway, it is the National Data Center holds it, but like I said, that register, and I think that I'll use this to answer a question that may come up. If it doesn't come up, all the better, I will respond anyway. It's a question I've heard. Why are you asking all of us to register again if you have some of the data? And DG spoke about 40 million SIMs that were registered previously. Why don't you just identify, you did a sample verification, 81.1% passed. So why don't you just migrate those 81.1%, the 1.3 million out of you did 2.3, you did like 2.3 million tests and 1.8 passed. So why don't you just migrate the 1.8 and ask the rest to just go and do the registration again? The reason why you can't do that is two-pronged. First, you saw the system, the example of, I don't want to say fake Ghana cards, because one may be real, one may be legitimate. But you saw the duplicate Ghana card that was shown. In the system today, part of that 81.1% that has passed the first phase could be could have been done with fraudulently acquired Ghana cards, which are not legitimate. So what you will then do, if you just do a wholesale migration, is that you are migrating the flaws of the old system into a new system and claiming that you are cleaning up. You're not cleaning up. You're actually migrating the viruses. You have infected files and you are migrating them onto a new system. You are basically replicating the problems of the old system. And that's part of the reason why we can't do a wholesale migration. And that's cured today by NIA's solution that they are offering to us based on the collaboration we are having with them, which is a liveliness test. So, because you see, I could take your Ghana card and enter the details. In the old system, I could actually take a photo. I could register on the old system with a photo of your card, and the system will accept it. Now, with this new system, you can't use a photo of the card. You need to do a real liveliness test of the individual himself for the facial contours to be picked and matched against their database. And that's why the NIA, outside of even this registration, has issued a warning that institutions like banks should stop photocopying the Ghana cards of individuals, because that whole process now defeats the technology that the NIA has employed or has deployed for verification. And so, Dixon, I want to believe I've touched on the PTSD part. We will continue to work, and I'm sure that, you see, I keep saying that with these processes, because people still remember the pain that they went through barely 2-3 years ago and the difficulties that we faced, it is legitimate. I would have been shocked if people did not raise a question. It's legitimate for people to be concerned and worried and say, is Sam George going to take us through what we went through under his predecessor? That is a legitimate question to ask. But you see, the sweetness of the pudding will be in his eating. When we roll out the process and people realize that they don't need to go and queue. They can sit in the comfort of their home with their own smartphone, pick their Ghana card, do the liveliness test, and register. They get a text message registering and identifying their primary number. They have a second number. They try to register that. It sends an OTP to their primary number. They verify on the second number, and it's registered. The CEIR is populated, and all of this is done in the comfort of their homes. You would realize that the public perception will begin to shift, because now people are not being asked to go to a teleco shop or go to an agent to go and do the registration. So I think that it's fine for people to raise the complaints. It's those complaints that we have considered and built the platform that we have built today. When we roll it out, working with you as stakeholders And I'm sure that before you leave here today, we'll share a standard FAQ with you. The team have developed an FAQ so that all the various questions, even if you forget what I have said here, you'll have it written that we'll share with you as media persons. The FAQs will help guide the process. And I'm sure that when we start this process, hopefully, and I'm very confident it will start this year. When we start it this year and people begin to register, I'm sure that the fear and concern will drop. And then when people see the steps that we've taken, and again, let's be clear, part of the challenges people had in the last registration was a lot of people didn't have Ghana cards. At the time, we had just about 60% of the country having Ghana cards. Now you have about what, 90%? About 90%, almost 90% have the Ghana cards. At that time, there were only 7 centers in the whole country for you to get a Ghana card. So a lot of the fights that people had was at NIA centers to get cards. Now you have 294 centers, and now you have 90% of the country that have the cards. Again, we are integrating NIA registration teams in our mobile teams that are going to go out. So it's a one-stop shop. Apart from that, we're looking to use Ghana Post facilities across the entire country. And I dare say there's no agency that has the kind of footprint Ghana Post has. In rural communities, there's a post office. We're also looking to use our CICs, where we're rolling out the 1 million coders in a few months as well. So there are multiple layers for people to walk in their own comfort and get registered. Like I keep saying, the president is clear. It is the president's pressure I have transferred to the Director General. Comfort, and convenience. So it's either both comfort and convenience. I'm sure all of them, we can call them Connie. So, and then the last one on eSIMs. eSIMs are a critical part of this entire process. In fact, one of the networks has over 5 million registered devices on their network that are eSIM enabled. However, they have just about 1 million of those devices using eSIMs. Part of what this process will do for us is we will push a lot more people to do eSIMs. Because you see, today, if you are doing an eSIM registration, it's almost self-service. You are able to do your eSIM registration self-service. So if we move a lot more people onto eSIMs as well, and that's something we're going to try and push with this registration, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, or is it 2 stones with 1 bird? Whichever way, there's a killing and there are 2 and there's 1. But you're basically solving a multiplicity of problems. And so eSIMs are a critical part of what it is. If you are an eSIM user, already you've submitted some data, but you just do the verification using the liveliness test against the NIA, and then we're good to go. I think I've answered this first set of questions. So we'll take the next batch.
Another round of questions. Yes, sir. Please introduce yourself.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Alfred Okanse. I work with TV3. Minister, you indicated this is the first time proper SIM registration is going to take place in Ghana. What are the safeguards so that we know that this is actually going to be the final, so that there will not be another minister coming after you saying that this process wasn't done well, and so we have to do it again? So if there are specific safeguards in place for us to have that level of assurance. I recall that previously you had explained, and this is on the back of the point you just made about the validation of the biometric data that was collected in the previous instance, matching it against the NIA data. You had indicated that 80% of the process, as at the time we spoke to you, a little over a month ago, that the process had been 80% complete, and that the subscribers will not need to resubmit their biometric data. I want to get some clarity on that. If the point you just made explains that particular issue you raised earlier. And then the final one is to the NIA. I checked the public-private partnership report published by the Ministry of Finance this morning. And the NIA, you charge telcos for verification services, correct? If the old SIM registration wasn't good enough, had its own challenges. And what we are seeing now is that we have to go through another process. then what exactly have you been charging the telcos for? With this particular service that you are taking money from them, this verification services. I just want us to get that explanation, please.
Can we take another question? Another.
My name is Nana Kwesi Ikutia from Metro TV. I want to find out what responsibility will the government take for those who are unable to register. I mean, millions will definitely risk losing access to communication, so I just want to find out. In that regard, would there be a system that would actually take care of those people that are unable to register?
Hi, I am Joshua Kojamens on GH1 TV. So what I've not heard this afternoon is how we are catering to the needs of persons with disability. You mentioned that indeed would have the mobile vans going out there to support people, but are we putting into consideration those who have disabilities and how we can help them to register in at least remote areas as well? Thank you.
Okay, let me jump on this batch. Alfred, what safeguards are there to make this final? Maybe I'll give you 3 answers. First is what we're doing here. Stakeholder engagements. Because you ask me what really, and what I hear your questioning is, how is this different from all the others? And I mean, DG did a fantastic job of showing you 2010 and then 2021 to 2023. 2010, aspirational, but we had a multiplicity of IDs, and there was no verification of those IDs. Then post 2010, LI 2111 came into force. Now, LI 2111, and again, that was another thing I battled the previous minister, my predecessor, on, was that you cannot use an LI which was purposely for mandating what you could use the Ghana card for to do SIM registration, because that LI focused on the users of a Ghana card, and that's where it listed all the various governments and public services you could use a Ghana card for. I kept insisting at that time that you needed a specific LI for registration of SIM cards. The only LI we have is a 2010 LI that was done by Honorable Haruna Idrisu at the time. And it is that LI that for the first time since 2010, we are revising and doing a new LI, which we're engaging the stakeholders on. Now that LI is what spells out the entire process. What's the legal framework for what we're doing? And that's why I'm sure a question that will come is, when are you starting? I can't give you a start date today because we've not completed, DG told you, we're in the process of completing the LI consultations. When we complete, we have to check Parliament's timetable. Parliament is about to rise. When Parliament rises, we can't lay it. So it means when Parliament resumes, we would lay it and let it run for the 21 days, after which we then have a legal framework to do what we're doing. Because for me, anything that doesn't have a legal framework is illegal. 2021 to 2023, there was no legal framework, 1. 2, the fact that you have multi-agency collaboration on this is something that you didn't see in previous times. So you have the NIA being our single source of truth when it comes to IDs. You have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs doing the diplomatic corps verification. You've got the Ghana Immigration Service doing verification of passports for visitors who are going to have the 90-day tourist SIMs. And there are countries where you go to and they give you the tourist SIM. 90 days after, it's trend, okay? Then you have the ORC that's working with us on business registration and categorizing them properly. You have data protection that's doing a lot of work under this whole process in terms of the data governance of this. Then you've got the MNOs. You remember in 2021, September 2021, if my memory serves me right, the then Executive Secretary of the NIA issued a public 2 or 3 page letter saying that the process that the Ministry of Communication at the time was undertaking, the NIA could not verify any of the biometrics that were being taken. Now, that for me was the big red flag that should have said to us, pause, reflect, and re-strategize. But, I mean, we're in a vehicle that had no brake at the time. And so, it was young Kwankwa, Mufasti and Mami. And our copem. We are here today. Oh, why are you laughing? We are here today, and we have this multi-stakeholder approach, where you have the heads of the agencies, and my brothers and sisters in the media, what you see today is the beautiful product of very hard and difficult conversations that have gone on in the background. Disagreements on technical standards between NIA and NCA. We've had our arguments. No, I don't want this. The first time you came to do a presentation to me in the ministry, they came with something. I said, good job, but take it back. And I raised some challenges that I had with the system. They said, oh, okay, we need to go and look at it. So we've had that back and forth before we've gotten here. It is that kind of engagement that, for me, gives me the confidence that if we execute this the way the technocrats who are paid a salary by the taxpayer, fine directors in NCA, they've been allowed to do their job. They've been given the room to come to us. All I do is give the policy direction. This is how I want it done. But the fine technical details, myself and DG spoke about national security. The Minister for Interior, who doubles as the Minister for National Security, is briefing down my neck to give him a credible SIM register. Because there are times when law enforcement needs to identify a person. They pick what we have today, or they ask us, and based on what we have today, we provide them information. They go and pick up the individual, and you realize you've picked up the wrong person. The person's Ghana card was cloned and used to register a SIM that was involved in a criminal activity. So we've got huge needs that have to be dealt with, and that's why this stakeholder approach is working. The third thing, for me, that is the reason why this will be the final one, is that at the base of this is not procurement. At the base of this is consumer protection and comfort. Because the real battle with the last registration was procurement. Today, that's not what our interest is. Our interest is getting a system that works, that's owned by the NCA and the NIA. So I'm very confident that if we do this right, working with you as our partners in the media, this will be our final. Now, the biometric data being collected is facial data. So that's why we're saying we're doing a liveliness test. The liveliness test is of your face. So it takes, the NIA took that biometric data, they took the contours of your face when they issued you an NIA card. Today, because of the multiplicity of standards when it comes to submitting your biometrics through different kinds of phones, you cannot use fingerprint for a self-service. Because the quality an iPhone will give you or a Samsung will give you may differ from what a Huawei or a Tecno or a BlackBerry or whatever it is. Different phones have different standards. But the one thing that we can be sure that even the base phones, once they pass type approval of the NCA, is that it will be able to take the camera will be able to take a photograph of your face that would allow us match the contours. So it's a facial verification. So that's the biometric data that's going to be matched against the NIA. So that deals with people, for example, if you remember, it was one of the issues I raised, again, as deputy ranking member, that people who had lost their fingers, how did you register them when you had to submit only fingerprint? You know, we had to have that back and forth at some point in time in 2022 over that. Right now, whether you are the question of PWDs, whether you are disabled, so long as your face, even if your face has, with the greatest of excuse, a form of deformity, except that deformity was post the collection of the data by the NIA, what the NIA will have will include whatever feature was on your face. In the instance where there is some accident that may have changed the state of your face, the NIA and the NCA will work out the protocols for those individuals. However, for persons who, again, take for example, the person is bedridden and this registration is going on, because it is self-service and the person doesn't have to leave their home and go to a service center. Once they have a smartphone, that can be done for them. If the person doesn't have a smartphone, you can still use with the regular feature phones, you have to go to a center. However, in that instance, someone can register the SIM card and then do a transfer, a legal transfer to that individual using their Ghana card. You understand what I'm saying? Because you have the ability now on this system to transfer ownership of a card. So if of a number, sorry, when I say card, say SIM card, no, but number, no. So you register the number and you can do a transfer to that person using their Ghana card as the reference document. So there are multiplicities of ways for us to be able to verify and assist persons with peculiar situations. But again, the ministry and the regulator are very open. As we do the deployment and we see and meet challenges, we will come back to the table, sit with stakeholders, and engage on the best way forward. What does the NIA charge for? And his salary on one sabe oh, but then job Jena. Just to say that you don't understand, guy. You start in Accra. Should I tell them what you've been doing in Accra? You don't understand, guy.
Thank you very much, Minister. Unfortunately, during the SIM card registration under the previous, NI did not charge anything. It was absolutely free. So it is this one that's per the fees and charges that was passed by Parliament, we are going to charge. Yes, this one we're going to charge. I think it's part of the distance that we would just discuss. But I think I want to, Minister, with your permission, I just want to make something clear. You know, I think 2 days ago, NIA launched the recruitment process to recruit temporary registration officers for the mass registration for 6 to 14. The funny thing is that we incorporated the facial verification. Now we got a call from someone. He was trying to register for someone. Now when he did the biometric verification and confirmed, the next stage was that the system pulled all his record into the system. So he thought he could edit it so that you put the person's name there. But he got there, he couldn't do the editing. And that was what didn't happen during the previous SIM card registration. And just to also emphasize that there's an LI, the 211. An amendment is currently in Parliament, which has been laid, and it's going for 21 days. After that, it will be an offense to even do photocopy of your Ghana card or even do fiscal check of someone to grant that person's services. Because, you know, in establishing anybody's identity, basically there are 3 things that you do. That is identification, verification, and authentication. It is only when you do the authentication, that is when you establish that person's identity. What was done previously was only the identification and the verification. Thank you very much, Mr.
Minister, if I would just attach, I think I've just checked the LI on the disability thing if somebody gets deformed. So the new LI, actually, there's no waiver, but there are key exceptions. So exception where biometric verification is not feasible, the regulations allow limited flexibility where biometric verification cannot be done. It applies when there's a medical condition, physical limitation, or exceptional circumstances. And there are a number of options available, including a court order, or like a number of options that the LI provides to enable people who, for very special reasons, cannot be verified. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And then there was a question from Nana Kwesi about those who fail to register. Nana, I don't envisage that everybody who has a SIM card today will try to register under this process. You know why? The number of fraudulently acquired SIM cards. And those persons will not be able to authenticate their Ghana cards and against their SIM cards. So I envisage that there will be people, and as media people, it's important you understand this, and we're streaming live. There are people who will go on social media to try and scream and say that, oh, we can't register. No. Just like what Yaira pointed out is happening at the NIA, where somebody tried to use his Ghana card and do facial recognition to register for somebody else, hoping to alter the fields when he gets in the next phase. And those fields they're immutable. It's the same thing that's going to happen. If you're using a SIM card today that is acquired fraudulently using somebody's Ghana card, don't forget that now when that person uses his Ghana card to do his own registration, he will set his primary number. So if you try to register that same, because maybe you have a copy or a photograph and you try to enter the details, when you try to do the liveliness test, the system will flag it and not allow that number to be registered. And so for those who are engaged in mobile money fraud, they are part of the people who will be on social media today saying that this registration must not happen. Because we will be able to block every SIM card that was not registered by the real owner of the Ghana card will not be able to go through this process. And that's why we're refusing to do a wholesale transfer of what has been already registered. Because if you do that, you transfer all the fraudulently acquired cards. If the card is yours, Nana, it's na wanga sa wufie, fa phone, na your registration. If we've brought comfort of this level and technology to serve you at this level, and you still say you don't want to register, then we must ask you why you don't want to register. What is it that you are running away from? So I'm not expecting everybody to register, but I believe that every law-abiding citizen who genuinely acquired their SIM card will take advantage of the process to register. And let me just state one thing in addition to what DG said relative to what the CEIR will do for us. If you register a SIM card for somebody, and this is because I'm saying this, I want to emphasize on this so that people don't fall victim. Someone will come to you and say, please register for me. Please do not register a SIM card for anybody who is not your dependent. Say maybe your own child or a family member. If you use your your Ghana card to register a number, and that number is reported as having engaged in fraud, mobile money fraud, and it's investigated and it is found out, the device is going to be blocked, the number is going to be blocked, and the Ghana card is going to be flagged. We've decided to be flexible enough to allow that Ghana card do another registration of a new SIM. But if the same Ghana card is found to be involved in more than one fraudulent registration of a number used in mobile money fraud, that Ghana card will be blocked and barred from being able to register a SIM in the country. I hope you understand the gravity of it. So if you use your Ghana card to go and register a SIM for somebody, and the person uses your card, that card that they got from your own Ghana card to perpetrate fraud, and we find 2 instances of that, your Ghana card is going to be blocked, which means that you can no longer get telecom services. So please, we are trying to clean up the system for our own selves. And you know the old man who said, oh, Sam George, I won't do it. It's because of them, oh. This registration, it's because of our old folks, oh. It's them that they call Sister Nie, Masendio. You know, it's important that we protect them. And so that's why we're doing this process. So I beg you, don't register a SIM for anybody. Everybody has a Ghana card. Let them go and register their own. You know, in the previous registration, it was understandable. A lot of people did not have the cards, so people were registering for them. Now everybody has a card. Don't register for anybody. Where they may pautrol. How do you say it in a way?
NCA blocks it. NIA can also, if it's established that the card was used to commit fraud, NIA too can block it in our system so that I cannot use it.
So
for
you
any
can't
other
use it
services.
for any service at all in the country, from banking to whatever. You are blocked. So that's the value of what we are doing. Do we still have questions? We can take a last round.
Okay.
Let's take a last round. Before, maybe I skip a media house and then...
Mr. Dona, you've had the opportunity. Can we give someone else? Yeah, we'll come back to you.
Good evening, Honorable.
Good evening.
Pacho media fia mankwa tamaklo. Adum TV. Pacho na me pese me find out. Say obi wo businesses ah. Obetimi a register with the same Ghana card with multiple businesses na.
Okay.
And na emisa ne money dia no so waka. Ebia na ne ba by this time wonya nya bia. Eno so obetimi a register with ono ankasa ne din wo ne enkra ne din mana. Thank you.
Can we take the next question?
So my name is Samuel Kojo Brace. That's how it is. Yeah, good. Yeah, namesake. I heard Yaira
Sammy,
say,
right?
Yes, please, yes.
Which media house again?
Joy News, sir.
Joy, yes.
I heard Yaira say that this time around we are going to pay for it. Is that clarification? If that's it, I just want to know. Just not for me.
No.
So I, the consumer, will not pay.
You're not the consumer paying.
Because I was going to say that I did my corner. I have
No, the consumer is not paying.
Okay.
But when the verification is done, NIA will be paid because Parliament has passed the fees and charges.
That's
going to be. That's why I said that cost will be borne by the telcos.
Okay, good. Now, my friend asked about the cost. So I'm sure the question was about, you said the MNO should take part of the cost. I hear there will be an intermediary as well. What is the cost to the state, which of course my taxes will be used to pay? Are we incurring any cost like that? How much is it? And which intermediary has been selected to do this business? Thank you.
My name is Tutua Danso and I'm with EIB Network. Mr. Minister, can you confidently say that this new system will be the panacea to mobile money fraud? Thank you.
Let the owner ask his question.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, my other namesake actually asked one of the questions I wanted to ask. So thank you very much. The other thing is, just for purposes of clarification. So now, Mr. Minister, you are saying that everybody in Ghana now needs to do SIM registration. Is that what is going on?
Yes.
Because in your previous communication, you said that about 80% of Ghanaians will not have to go and do, because just about a few people will be called.
I'll clarify that.
Will be called and then will be told to go do ABC.
I'll clarify that
so
for
yes.
you.
So but now we are being told that everybody has to do it. Okay.
Mr. Okansi has a follow-up.
Actually, to the NIA, because of the question I asked earlier, I was referencing, this is the 2024 annual report, and this has under the end-year project revenue performance table. We can probably show it to you afterwards. It has the line item telecommunication agencies service type identity verification services, transfer of data sets, and the planned revenue generation figure there is a little over $1 million. And the achieved target is $122,000 with a variance of a little over $882,000. So that's what I was referencing as to exactly what you're charging the telcos for if the previous SIM registration was not.
Okay, so let me start with Ifya Mankwa's question. If you say a businesser on using the Ghana card, the businesses won't use their Ghana card. We're using their registration at the Registrar General's department. So once you are a registered business, even if you have 5 registered businesses, we would use the registration documentation. And Mr. Beche, you can also provide.
If you are business registration, you know, you see who the Juma no one or into a Juma run, so you be here on the Ghana card. Now I can be no boom and you know. baako for adwuma ne dɔɔso ni nyinaa betumi register wɔ odin mu na de hia titiro ne adwuma wura ne Ghana card ɛkyɛ sampa adwuma yi ɛyɛ fiadia ne register wɔ ne din mu. As to the number of SIMs, that I'm sure my Director General will answer that later. How many can you register to go? But that's a question he will pick up.
I think there will be a distinction there between individuals and businesses. There's a limit for individuals, and then there will be a different limit for businesses. So, and then when it comes to children, once is your child under the age of 15 who doesn't have, because Ghana card now you do as low as 15 years, right? So if the child is 15 years and above, they have their own Ghana card. But if you decide to open Obama or buy 7 years phone, well, that's a parental decision you take. But you can register the SIM for your child in your name. Yes. Sammy, Joy, let's be clear. The intermediary is not going to be paid a peswa from the Ghanaian taxpayers. Either you as an individual or the NCA as an institution. So no taxpayers' money is going to go to the technical partner providing who will be selected. And let's be clear, I've seen a lot of things on social media that the minister has directed and given the contract to a company. Please, as we sit now, the request for procurement is at PPA. For those of you who follow the Atu forcing regime, to do any procurement, you must write to him. Get him to give you a commitment authorization. You take the commitment authorization to Public Procurement Authority. They will cross-check and verify before they give you the permission to proceed to do the procurement. It is only after you've done the procurement through an expression of interest and all the co-meaning of procurement that you get a service provider. We just got commitment authorization. We've now written to PPA. So for those who say that the minister has awarded a contract to a company, how did I award the contract to a company? So, I mean, there's a lot of fantastic information out there. Some of them are based on fact. Some of them are also very, very interesting mindsets, you know. But the facts are the facts. And you know, for those of you who follow me, I actually put my job on the line and said that if anybody could show a contract, I challenged my brother Bright and said, if you could show 1 page of a contract, I will resign as minister. Since then, it's been months. Wada, well, okay. But I can assure you that the NCA will not pay a peswa to the technical provider. It's all going to be embedded in, that's why I told you that I couldn't give you the price, because the negotiations are going to be B2B. That's why that's why government is still in consultation with the network operators on what the final cost will be, so that we know whoever is coming in, this is what we've agreed. Can you do it at this rate? Can you do it at this price? Because this is what the networks who will bear the cost have agreed to pay. So nothing from government is going to go to a third party. Is this the panacea to Momo fraud? To a very large extent, I believe that it will make Momo fraud very expensive. Because today, even if you report and we are able to even deactivate the SIM, the cost to the fraudster is 10 Ghana cedis. That's the cost of a new SIM. But if we deactivate the SIM and also block the device that is connected to that SIM, and he will have to spend some 2,000 or 3,000 to buy a new phone. That in itself is raising the cost of committing the fraud. And if he does it a second time and his Ghana card is blocked, he actually loses access to literally every government service. Because today, literally almost every government service, you need your Ghana card for it. So the cost to mobile money fraudsters is being raised to a level that will make it prohibitive. I won't stand here and say that it will bring mobile money fraud to zero. Because you couldn't stop Satan in heaven. You couldn't stop Lucifer. But we are sure that we'll be able to go after the right people. Today, if you report a number and we can identify the transaction flow with the platform operator and realize that this is a fraudulent thing, there are steps that we can take to identify who that real person is. Because today, some of the numbers, when you try to trace, you end up going after some old man or old lady sitting in some village whose card was used to do a fraudulent registration. But now we would know who is really behind the thing. Must everyone register? Yes, I said 80%. So I was making reference to the sample we did. You saw the sample data gave us about 81%. It then means that the 81% that went through our audit, if today we start the registration, they are more than likely to not need to show up to any mobile money, any network shop to do their registration, because their biometrics, the data that was picked off their card in the old registration matches what is on the NIS database. All that will be left for them to do is the self-liveliness test on their own, which will match, and then they will go through. Those who would have to now show up are those who either don't have a smartphone and have to book an appointment to go, or those whose facial liveliness test establishes that the details that have been stored against your number or the details that you've entered do not match what Yaira Kuku is holding at NIA. So then the question is, if someone who is carrying a ghost SIM today, and you know what we call the ghost SIMs, those that are registered fraudulently, if that person tries to register today, that person will have to show up at a shop to justify why, because the system will block it. The system will flag that number. So majority of those who have genuinely done their registration do not need to show up anywhere. They will do it on their own with their own self-service. So that's what that 80% was referencing. And I think Yaira has answered the question that Alfred, Yaira is now going to answer that bit on what they were charging me.
Yes, again, I must say that, yes, we didn't charge. But after the SIM card registration, some of the telcos came, mass registration. Some of the telcos approached NIA to onboard with our verification system for SIM card swapping and other identity verification that they do. So that one is what we charge them for, but not for the previous. So what the reports that you are saying are reports from since they came on board for identity verification, those are the charges. But for the previous one, we didn't charge them anything.
So Alfred, the point he's making is a lot of what the MNOs are doing with them now are for SIM swaps. And that's another reason why we want a lot of people to move to eSIMs. Because, look, when you go to the MNOs, about 70% of the people in an MNO shop are there for SIM swaps. So the traffic you see in the MNO stores are people doing SIM swaps. This platform that we are looking to roll out would actually allow you to do your own SIM swap yourself. So you don't need to show up at an MNO shop. It will decongest the MNO shops. But then again, when you move to an eSIM, it's easier for you because SIM swaps are another mode of fraud where they are doing the SIM swaps and taking control of people's numbers and your mobile money wallet. You understand me? So if we're able to do this properly, the protections for the industry and the system, I believe, respectfully, far outweigh any possible discomfort that you may experience if you have to book an appointment or if you have to spend 5 minutes instead of watching us now lift the trophy at the end of the season. You know, you're gonna, you know. So just spend 5 minutes and do it. I've seen my brother Omar Rusanda. He's not asked a question. Azumi is dealing with him. We should always hold our engagements when Azumi is happening. People like Umaru can talk. He's looking at the time and waiting for 6 o'clock. Oh boy. Mr. Bechi, thank you so much. And to the media, we're super grateful that you joined us here. Thank you so much. I think my work here now is done. And so I'm grateful for your time. Hey, Kamini.
I believe a hand of applause is in order. Thank you, Mr. Minister. We are not done yet. One more item, and we'll call it a day. We'll hear the closing remarks from our Director General, Reverend Fianco.
Okay, I think it's been a good afternoon. Just remember the key takeaway is that government is trying to strengthen confidence in the mobile ecosystem through the registration of SIM cards, and also linking the SIMs to the central equipment identity register so that we can also protect the devices as well. We encourage you to inform the public, like the minister mentioned. This is just, we are still at a stakeholder stage. The law is still yet to hit Parliament. We are still taking feedback. Other technical engagements are going on behind the scenes. Eventually, we'll come out with more communication on step-by-steps, what everybody needs to do. So, if you may have some lingering questions that may be answered eventually when we are ready to roll. So this is sensitization that bribiba my but bribi but idruwa we will clarify everything and ensure that everybody has the information they need to do what they have to do. We want to thank the Honorable Minister for committing very precious hours in this very busy day to engage all of us and to communicate government policy on this matter. The NCA will continue to engage with all stakeholders and ensure that we have a very convenient process when it eventually commences. We thank you all very much and also for the media. We want to thank you for coming. You are the means for us to reach the masses. I mean the proper masses, not the one that, the one that's power to the people. So please communicate clearly and sensitize the public, and we will engage all the GIBA, all the different stakeholders in the media when we are ready to roll out very specific communication on what people need to do. We thank you very much.
Thank you very much and have a good evening.
So on your way out, we know we called you during lunchtime. So on your way out, except tomorrow.
Umaru, do take away for you, eh? Thank you, sir. Nobody will say we bought them. You want to say that?